So this is a bit of a taste tester for what we do get to see in coming weeks. Looks like Sydney Drop Bears will try to make the May work. Niang is there on Sombra.
So Niang on Sombra and Dreamer on Wrecking Ball means they want to kind of split the fights up and stall it out until Niang has this EMP, and that's what they want to engage on. Whereas Warriors, they're more of a six-man group and just demolish people. They just want to run through people, essentially, with the Lucio speed boost and the May freeze.
I mean, what about this Reaper? That would have been a meme pick last patch.
Certainly would have said, so would May. I mean, all these heroes are coming back, and it's great to see them because they're so exciting. They have such unique abilities, especially May with her Ice Wise. You can see already Modern getting cut off, but he looks pretty confident.
I think it kind of cut Dreamer off as well. He was in the middle of all of Sydney Drop Bears, and that's an overcommitment. Sorry, he was in the middle of Warriors, but it's an overcommitment from Sydney Drop Bears, that's for sure. Shoyo, 20% of his ult charged up, so no chance of him being able to get back in the mech as he goes low. At the very least, Sydney Drop Bears doing a pretty good job right now of contesting this point, and they're not really allowing Warriors to get too far on top.
They certainly are, and Dreamer unable to stall it out, but he will stall it out for a little longer. Husk actually TP's on the high ground and drops below, but he's not going to be able to get any value so far. Managed to escape though, as Dreamer rolls back in. Winter's got the mail very quickly though.
Yeah, well that's the benefit of playing a Wrecking Ball. If you do that early, you can get back to the fight generally pretty quick indeed. Husk, I think, might have been hacked up there, could not get out of a dangerous situation, and Winter, as you mentioned, being able to do a lot of damage and has already charged Blizzard up, waiting for that one to get thrown on out. Looks like this long extended fight might actually start to favour Sydney Drop Bears, however Noz eats the Blizzard. All of a sudden things might turn back on their head. Winter, no way! Woo! He's come up absolutely huge. Modern and Noz go off the map, and finally we might see someone cap the point.
Flura went searching for that knockoff earlier and managed to fall, but he gets back in the fight and makes up for it well and truly. Niang now has that EMP going into this next fight. They can EMP Diva Bomb. Oriso very susceptible to that EMP. Tung will have to hide and try and get this Coalescence off. But we've seen Husk go for it once already, where he TPs very sneakily into the back line and tries to get a quick kill.
Yeah, that said, if Winter...
He's going again.
Sorry, if Roro's really on the ball, he might be able to get that wall up before the EMP comes out. Niang has been caught. EMP goes across. Where is the self-destruct? It's finally being thrown out from Shoyo, but is it too little too late? No is the answer. Sydney Drop Bears are doing a good job of winning this fight. Not that it necessarily seemed to come off the back of the self-destruct, more so just the EMP and a good follow-up from Sydney Drop Bears.
Yeah, with those mobile heroes, they're able to get in there very quickly to follow up on those EMP targets. Shoyo doing so much damage there, and still getting the Diva Bomb off is very important. How will Warriors try and retake this? The Reaper, there's not many targets for him to shoot really, because Dreamer kites him by running away. Niang, very elusive, so this Reaper pick at the moment isn't paying off. Husk is going to have to try and get a big Death Blossom off here. Looking to get a very sneaky TP from the top ropes.
Surely this is not going to work against a professional team. That is a little bit too obvious for mine. Here comes the mines as well, incidentally, speaking of, as Dreamer dives straight on in and starts to put some damage through. It's going to be Husk with the Death Blossom, but he's immediately frozen up by Winter. The Coalescence was coming through from Sydney Drop Bears as well, so plenty of healing. And there's absolutely no problems there at all for the Drop Bears. Warriors are looking in all sorts today. They're just not on the same page.
Yeah, it's very difficult to play Reaper into that elusive composition. You're trying to pick the Reaper to go against basically a mirror matchup, or maybe there's a Winston involved. But the Reaper doesn't really excel at these tracking down Sombras and Wrecking Balls. As you see Mod getting poked up for a bit of fun, Niang getting closer to that EMP. Husk swapped over to the McCree. That will deal with the Sombra better, but Hanzo would have been a little more practical in this situation.
Is it too little too late though for the Warriors? Regardless of what he chooses here, you're at 99% down. You have to make this fight work. For Warriors, what do they have to play with?
They have good they have good ults, they have the Diva Bomb, they have the freeze, they have the beat as well. Niang closing in on that EMP, and we've seen him play with support players with that beat drop.
And the longer that this lasts, the better it is for Sydney Drop Bears, because EMP is going to come up, self-destruct's going to come up, and maybe even the support ultimates have a little bit more time to come online. Warriors aren't quite going to be able to outlast Sydney Drop Bears in this final fight. It all comes down to the timing on the engage, and while Warriors are being very picky about it, they're not engaging too quickly here at all.
Warriors do have that extended
they almost got off the point.
But here comes the EMP and the Diva Bomb. This is going to be go time.
Is it too little too late here for Warriors? As you speak of it, the self-destruct goes across. Husk drops early in the fight, so it's a 5v6 immediately off the bat. Roro going to try and do what he can. Coalescence now out from Sydney Drop Bears, so too is the minefield of Dreamer, who is being put quite low after being frozen up by Roro. But the numbers are certainly there for Sydney Drop Bears as they push their way forward. Now they drop their own Blizzard, and Winter, true to his name, is going to force Sydney Drop Bears off the point. And Sydney Drop Bears, rather, are going to be the ones to pick up the win. It was Warriors off the point. Regardless, That looked really clean for me from Sydney Drop Bears, and I didn't see much from Warriors that impressed me.
No, poor Huss playing Reaper into that composition. I don't favour that at all. He just can't get any value. Playing the McCree, he gets a bit more poke damage off, and you can see them poking around there, waiting for Niang to get his EMP on the side of Sydney Drop Bears, and that was their go time. I think that they won't try this McCree. Okay, they will try this McCree again, but it is with the Baptiste this time. This is a different healer. He has lots of raw healing output, as well as being able to dodge abilities and using your immortality field. Lamp, as people often call it, can be a good counter to EMP, which Niang seems to be favouring this Sombra, and I like that from them. I think that's their strong pick. That's their linchpin.
Talk about poor Huss. I reckon poor Dreamer having to play Wrecking Ball into a Mei and into an Orisa. Not fun at all, but
no,
seemed to make it work. Had pretty good value there for Sydney Drop Bears, I thought. So, Warriors going to try something a little different. This is a minor win already for Sydney Drop Bears after forcing Warriors off. But that said, Huss is pretty dangerous on those hit scan heroes, as you know, as it displayed right onto Winter. And once again, I'm talking about it, it's Dreamer. He gets frozen up, and on Wrecking Ball, when you stop moving, you die. And Oz finishes him off. This is looking much better for Warriors. A good adaptation. And they win the first fight fairly clean.
It's all on the McCree player, though. Huss needs to be hitting these shots very cleanly. They're investing so many resources into him.
Well, I couldn't think of a player I'd rather have on the McCree if I'm relying on him in such a situation.
Almost certainly. Internationally experienced superstar that Huss is. But he's not the Widowmaker. I like his Widowmaker a lot, actually. Very fun to spectate.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to see that later on.
Yeah, we will definitely... I hope we get to see it later on. He's already built his Deadeye up. Niang now swapping over to the Reaper. So they're looking to Deathball into this composition, get in this McCree space, and really give him some trouble.
Not going to be so easy to get in his face when he has High Noon available. Tosses it out, but that's just going to buy us some time. The lamp went up there as well from Tung. So a couple of important cooldowns that Sydney Drop Bears now don't have to deal with. Are they going to take advantage of it as they try to push their way forward? It's Coalescence being thrown out from a crack in a wall. Comes up from Roro, and it's a good one. Cutting Sydney Drop Bears off, and they then cut themselves off with their own wall. They're onto the point, and they've actually flipped it over, so now the onus is on to Warriors to push on forward. A good halt into the Blizzard combo is going to catch Dreamer, but he's behind his shield. It won't be easy to finish off as Roro dives on top of him. Does inevitably get that kill, and Warriors slowly but surely pulling ahead in this fight.
Yeah, Roro managing to track the Matrix there and get that Mei off ult. Good combination with that halt as well. We've seen Mei and Orisa in scrims be very potent together as you halt and then you left click, and now the freeze AoEs basically, so you can get a cone of freeze off as well as the ultimate. So there's a good combination there, but they did give over the point to the Sydney Drop Bears. They ended up getting too scared of a Kraken on his Coalescence and backing off and giving too much room. So now they gave over 24% to play with. Will that come back to bite them?
It's not an insignificant amount. It's a bit of time for Sydney Drop Bears to play with. They'll be happy with that. It could have been much cleaner for Warriors. And in fact, this could have been Sydney Drop Bears' last fight, had they not been able to flip that point over.
Certainly could have. Huss has already picked off one. Dreamer, the key hero, going down. Watch for this Tung ultimate to come through with combination of Huss for big damage.
I mean, Sydney Drop Bears kind of have to commit to this. They don't really have much time left. Either they back out now or they commit, and they are going to commit. Shoyo able to find a pick onto Roro. That's quite big indeed. Can the self-destruct get more? No, just the Lamp of Tung, but Huss with the Deadeye is not going to miss. Shoyo on a Kraken fall, and now he's on top of a Dreamer, who inevitably will end up seeing him fall, but in the end, it's Sydney Drop Bears that are finding the advantages here. A Blizzard goes down from Winter. He's freezing up both of the tanks. Not the ideal targets for him, but he does still finish off Modern. Gets right into the ice block now as well. Just to slow things down for Warriors, who are up to 99%. It's on to Sydney Drop Bears to turn this one around.
These long fights do favour the side of the Sydney Drop Bears with that Moira healing composition. But can they get enough players in? They have ultimates coming up soon. Dreamers, it looks like to be first, but no, the Roro freeze is going to really cut off half the point, and they're just managing to clean up all these kills.
Yeah, not much that Niang can do there on his own, and in fact the rest of Sydney Drop Bears not going to be much for any of those remaining players either, as they continue to jump on the point. Us with the Deadeye is going to keep anyone at bay should there have been a contest, but for Warriors, have managed to bring one back. It's one apiece now here on Ilios.
And in Huss, we trust the Warriors. They have a strategy now. They've planned out how to deal with Niang Sombra, and getting Niang off Sombra is half the battle, I believe. I think his Sombra is so exceptionally good. His other hero is not so much. Maybe Dreamer needs to rethink about how to approach this. Going on the Orisa, it didn't seem to do much, but you kind of need it to deal with that high pressure damage from the McCree, getting damage boosted. Sydney Drop Bears now, they have to rethink and replan for this. Huss now is going to roll out in the Reaper, but I don't think he'll stay on that for very long once he sees what he's up against.
Well, it's not an awful point to be playing the Wrecking Ball on. There's a lot of boot potential if Sydney Drop Bears are the ones that are actually fighting on the point. but that's assuming they can take control of it, which is, I don't think, going to be so easy in this initial fight. I'm backing Warriors here.
Warriors are definitely going to look to anchor up on this point. You know, get this shotgun Reaper ready on point. Anyone that runs at him is going to take a lot of damage.
Yeah, exactly. He's looking to build the Death Blossom up. Only 7% so far from Husk, but trying to work the angles, looking for those big targets that he can get a huge meat shot into. So far, Sydney Dropbear's not really giving him a lot. Dreamer poking in, so too is Shoyo, but no one else really committing to this one just yet. And sooner or later, they're going to have to, because that point capture is going to go the way of Warriors, and it does. Sydney Dropbear's just not on quickly enough.
Tongue's Coalescence is coming up very quickly. If he can get this before the Kraken does, he can set the fight, set the tone of the fight. That ultimate really does a lot of damage. A deceptive amount of damage for a support hero.
Yeah, I mean, Sydney Dropbears are really being zoned out here. Dreamer's now finally looking like he wants to commit on forward, but the rest of the team doesn't follow him. And yeah, as you say, he gets boofed off by Jungle. Had he not been... Oh, what has happened there for Roro? He's been knocked across by Fluoro, and that is the turning point in the fight as Sydney Dropbears are going to pile on in onto Warriors. They're all trying to hide behind Orissa's shield in the corner there, but that just makes the job much easier for Winter. The Blizzard was the linchpin there for Sydney Dropbears. That was the go signal. They were waiting for it, but 35% already given over to Warriors. Not ideal.
Such a risky play, though, going for that May ultimate as your crux, basically, because if that gets eaten, then you have to wait for the next ultimate, which is the EMP, and now with Sydney Dropbears having the EMP, it's going to be hard to take this.
I mean, Husk started that fight off pretty well, but he's only up to 70% of the ultimate. I thought he would have had it by now, which would have made the job a lot easier for Warriors on this recontest, but it's not an option. With EMP, it's going to be really tough to make things work here for Jungle. Only 2 connecting onto that EMP, actually, but it's still enough to dispatch of Husk, who was one of the players that did get EMP'd up. Now Winter pushing on forward, but decides to back away, which is probably what he needs to be doing here. Sydney Dropbears, they've already won the fight. Now it's time to just wait things out.
There were a lot of ultimates committed from Sydney Dropbears, though. It seems like they committed the EMP and both the support ults. So now there's a bit of an advantage as Noz throws his Diva Bomb into a May wall.
That's a huge wall. Excellent stuff from Winter. You spoke about his May being strong, and we're seeing that in evidence today. Shoyo will also catch Husk with the self-destruct, and once again, that Death Blossom will not be a factor in the fight. Warriors have to wait, bide their time, wait for those respawns.
Yeah, and I thought that was definitely going to be a Warriors' favoured fight with those 2 ultimates coming through, but that May wall from Winter, stopping that Diva Bomb straight in his tracks, no kills for you. Now, the DPS players from Warriors, Roro and Husk, they need to get big value off these ultimates before Nyan gets his next EMP. They're managing to run to the point, but are they getting knocked off the map?
Oh, Husk has the Death Blossom in, but that's way too easily shut down. The defense matrix comes up from Shoyo, and even though now he is being frozen up, it's too late. Winter's going to get his Blizzard down as well, and that's going to catch Roro as soon as he comes out of the ice block. Not to mention just that, but a Kraken. He's shooting a laser beam all over the point. There's absolutely nothing that Warriors are going to be able to do about it. The lucky break, though, for Warriors is that they do control a point right now. So all this time, they've been getting some percentage on the board, where Sydney Dropbears could have really forced them basically into a 99% situation right now, and the map would have already been over. So that is one small saving grace for Warriors. Got 1 fight left.
Would have been all over Red Rover if they didn't get that point lock there. Now they have no ultimates, no swaps either. They didn't swap, they didn't have the ultimates to go into this fight. They're up against it. Very difficult to get in here.
Well, luckily no EMP to deal with. Nyan will translocate out as he was caught a little bit there by Roro. Husk now looking for some high ground. Doesn't need to do a whole lot of damage just yet. Roro goes low into the ice block and then starts to re-engage the fight on the back of the sound barrier here from Sydney Dropbears. They open up nicely. Modern is down. Main tank out of the picture for Warriors.
Oh, Husk is going down very low, but the beat drop from Jungle comes just in time. He manages to sneak out, but Noz getting hacked up so close to his ultimate. He needs to live for that.
Yeah, Shoyo with the self-destruct on the point there to try and push Warriors back, and it does for a moment. It was the eye of the storm, but now we're back into it in earnest for Warriors, and there's no more backing away now. Noz, where is his self-destruct going to come, and what difference can that make? It needs to have something. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Sydney Dropbears still all healthy on the point, and it's just a matter of time now, it feels, for Warriors. As EMP is thrown in there from Nyan, and that is going to deny any possibility of a resurgence for Warriors, as Sydney Dropbears will pick up the first map of Ilios and push further and further forward to semi-finals.
They certainly are getting very close. It is a first to 3 format too, so it's not like our regular season, which means 2 wins away for Sydney Dropbears to return to MEO, the stage they conquered last season, or last year.
Yeah, I mean, they got the 3-0 last week against Warriors, so they should be feeling pretty comfortable at the moment. Now, I do feel like that was reasonably close, at least on Ilios, but you always sort of felt like in the macro game, in the sort of the thinking department, Sydney Dropbears were the ones that were making the right decisions, and Warriors were sort of trying to play catch up.
Yeah, we saw when Warriors tried to play that Reaper versus those mobile compositions, it just doesn't work. I'm surprised they didn't swap off on that Lighthouse point. Yeah, it's a good point for Reaper if everyone's playing on the point, but with Dreamer just running through and causing a bit of a ruckus while they wait for those big key ultimates like the Mei and the Sombra ones, you can't get anything done on that Reaper. You saw his Death Blossom just go straight into a Mei freeze and headshot. Down he goes. So I want to see Warriors put their thinking caps on and try and counter this composition a bit more, because Sombra isn't used for a reason. It's because it is vulnerable to these longer range hit scan heroes like the Hanzo and the McCree, as we saw on this Ruins point.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting conundrum, isn't it? Because we have talked so much about the Warriors DPS players this season and how they might be unleashed if a 2-2-2 lock were to come in, but the interesting factor for me here is that we're not really seeing the traditional DPS characters that you would have associated with the likes of players of Huss and Roro's caliber. You know, you're not seeing the Widowmaker. You're not really seeing as much like, for example, McCree and Tracer for Huss, although we did see a little bit of McCree. You're not really seeing the Pharah for Roro, you're not seeing the Genji for Roro. He's just sitting on the Mei. So all these kinds of characters that have become accustomed with these high octane, sort of high impact plays out from your DPS, you're still not quite getting that. I feel like it's not quite GOATs anymore, but it is still in that sort of realm, that sort of department where you're getting a bit more sort of utility, I suppose, out of your DPS players.
Especially on the flex DPS player, which is playing the Mei at the moment in the current meta, as it hasn't been figured out yet. I'm going to meta it.
Okay.
It's something unfortunate because Roro is such a great Pharah player, great Genji player. He even has an okay Hanzo, Widowmaker he can play as well, but he's stuck in the Mei. So Huss is actually a former Mei player. He played a lot of Mei back in a few seasons ago. So maybe he should be playing the Mei and we can let Roro run around on Hanzo or something, because at the moment the Reaper versus the Sombra hamster doesn't fit well for me. It doesn't sit well.
Well, it's certainly something that Warriors are going to have to think about going on to Assault. Now, the other thing they have to think about, Smash, is what map they want to play here, because traditionally during this season, they've been forced onto maps based on the map pool, but now that we're in playoffs, the losing team of the previous map does get to choose the map. So what do we want to go to here on Assault for Warriors? I mean, they haven't had to choose up to this point, so we don't have that much data.
No, I think Volskaya might be one of the picks that they try and lean towards just because of their DPS players. Because of Huss's Widowmaker, it is a point where Widowmaker is played a lot, especially on that first point. You can play the Roro Pharah, you can play the Roro Hanzo on attack especially. I think that would be a better pick for them, just because it's harder for Sombra to get in, and once she does get in, you can play so spread that you can avoid getting clumped up and EMP'd. So I think that would be a better map pick for them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a Paris thrown in just in case.
Wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, to be honest. I just had a look at the stats here while you were talking, and it was the 100% win rate. Volskaya was the 100% win rate map for Warriors throughout this season. Now, they only played it twice, but the other maps, Paris and Anubis, that you can choose in this mode, were sort of like 50% more so, rather than such a solid result for Volskaya. But I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the choice for Warriors. We can always look at the stats and say, oh, this is what I think is going to happen. But at the end of the day, the team internally are going to be feeling like, okay, well, we may be able to play something here that we might not expect. Now, I know that you were talking about in the lead up to this bit of the 2-2-2 lock being... Were you on the side of double sniper, or were you against double sniper? I know there was an argument between you and Cindy. Which one? You were for double sniper, right? Correct?
No, Cindy thought it was going to be double sniper all the way through.
All
but
right.
Cindy,
he's
got a peanut brain.
Okay.
So that's what his opinion was. I was of the opinion there'd be more dive, there'd be more these heroes like Hanzo coming out, less Widow, more Hanzo, less... I actually thought there was going to be a lot of Genji as well played, but...
So we're not getting necessarily what
we're not getting what I expected. I was told by my insiders, my little birds running around the OWL, that Dive is back. Woo! Doomfist, Sombra, excellent. But no, now they come out and play Mei and Reaper. So
I'll tell you what, I reckon Dive would have been nice for Order. That's a composition that back in the day, you used to see them on all the time. They were famed going into Season 1 of Overwatch Contenders when we had that Dive meta, really, that they were the best team going into it. And then, well, look what ended up happening. It was City Drop Bears that won the season, but as the seasons have progressed, we haven't really associated with them as a dive team anymore. So it'd be interesting to see how like all of these metas are going to shape up. I sort of even feel like right now there's a really good chance that we're going to see something today in playoffs and maybe even next week in semi-finals that come Melbourne Esports Open, players will have decided, oh, you know what, that's actually not really the optimal strategy.
Yeah.
We figured something else out come Melbourne Esports Open after, you know, about a month or a month and a half of having this 2-2-2 lock-in that actually works a little bit better.
No, I think that there are there's a lot of room to wriggle in this 2-2-2 lock, especially with map type. So you got Temple of Anubis, which is a bit of a Genji's playground on first points, where you can play the Widowmaker, you can play the Sombra there. That's going to be quite nice, but at the moment on the King of the Hill, you're seeing a lot of the same compositions. So you're seeing a lot of the Mei, the Reaper, the Lucio. You barely see any Lucio outside of King of the Hill at the moment. There's just no reason to pick it. You got Baptiste, you got Mercy being played, you got Zenyatta, Ana. Those heroes are being more favored just because you're not grouping up as much anymore. So the Lucio's gone out of fashion a little bit, but
Another thing we didn't really get to see at all, the main tanks, no Reinhardt, no Winston.
Yeah, Reinhardt's one that's fallen out of favor. If you want a shield tank, people are just playing Orisa. Winston, at the same time, he just gets blown up by everything because that defense matrix is so low now on the D.Va and she's not really the must pick she used to be. There's less protection for him. And of course, there's no Zarya being played, so there's no protection for him. And Winston, very vulnerable when he's playing alone.
Solo Winston's not going to be fun, particularly with you jumping in on top of the likes of a Mei or a Reaper, which we've been seeing a fair bit of. Not too much Brigitte either coming out from the supports, which I suppose is not too much of a surprise.
Sometimes there is play on the Brigitte, but it is very, very low pick rate at the moment. I think that it's more, you pick an Ana and you pick a Brigitte and you sit them together and they hold hands for the rest of the map. The Brigitte doesn't get to do much in that composition. So I don't think you'll see any of the players here playing it.
So still starting to figure out what is happening with the meta. And Warriors and Sydney Drop Bears, we're just waiting for them to get locked in on the second map. I'm told, Smash, that someone chose the wrong map. So we're sort of figuring all of that out at the moment. At least we don't have to play the map and then replay the map.
No, that would be terrible. I think it's probably Huss forgetting how to spell Volskaya.
Probably. It's a difficult one to spell, I'm sure, Smash. Now, did we go over your prediction for this match already?
Oh, my prediction was Sydney Drop Bears. I thought that Warriors would come through and they'd show up a fight, but I thought that Sydney Drop Bears, with Winter on Mei, a hero that he's been so good on from what I've seen so far, I think they're going to feel more comfortable. And if Warriors don't adapt to Niang Sombra with the Mei, those are two big teamfight ultimates that can cause a lot of pain if you don't address them properly. So I think that Sydney Drop Bears will come through. Their next game, if they do come through, versus Mind Freak, will be very close though.
Okay, well, I'm told the next map is going to be Volskaya Smash, which should be getting underway fairly shortly, so you're on the money in that respect. What kind of team comps are we expecting to see here on Volskaya?
Well, I'd like to see Double Sniper out of the side of Warriors, because I think that's something that their players lean towards more. I think that having Huss on Widowmaker, he has that star potential. I mean, there's a clip on Twitter of him killing 11 players in matchmaking because he's just so damn good. So I think that will be the key for them. If they can play around Huss's Widow, then they can have a good victory here.
How does that matchup work against Niang, though? Because he's a very hot and cold Widow, right? We've seen it throughout this season. We've seen some pretty average stuff from Niang on the Widow. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but we've also seen some pretty crazy stuff where you're just like, whoa, hang on, what was that? Yep. So, I don't know, does it depend on what kind of day Niang is having here, or do you back Huss every day of the week?
I back Huss every day of the week, but it will come down more to Shoyo is very good at using his shift and his rockets to blowing up a 200 HP target. He's excellent at that. So Huss might have a bit more than he bargained for with Shoyo and Dreamer as well, who's shown to like to play the Wrecking Ball. And Wrecking Ball is pretty good at disrupting these double sniper compositions.
Yeah, it certainly has been. All right, let's jump onto Volskaya and find out what each team is going to be running. That's really the question of the week, isn't it? You know, we're not at this point being able to say, oh, well, the X or Y team is a GOATS composition team or a DPS composition team or anything like that. It's a new sort of meta, new lands, new discovery.
Teams kind of had their own flavor and identity coming into this week because of the previous meta, and now it is just all over the place. You can't really call a team a certain team anymore. You had Atletico that was more of a GOATS team. You had Order that was more of a GOATS team. You had Drop Bears who played a lot of Sombra GOATS and they played a lot of Sombra sniper compositions, and Warriors, they were always DPS boys, so now they're in their home turf, they're playing DPS, they're DPS boys.
Well, the double sniper that you spoke about.
It is with the Tongue Brigitte, which I think is very odd. Usually you see a Mercy with this, maybe a Mercy Ana or a Mercy Zenyatta even. Having a Lucio and Brigitte, I don't know if that's the right composition. I think they'll swap off there. On the side of Sydney Drop Bears, this is a comp that's been shown a little bit. Niang on the Hanzo instead of the Widow. Fluru on the Baptiste, putting out that extra healing that you need when you don't have those three supports to complement the Zenyatta and his lack of healing. Fluru's Baptiste will be very important in keeping everybody topped up.
What's Modern Pile Drivering in there for?
He's just roughing up the turf a bit.
Showing him who's boss.
Yeah, ground pounding to show his dominance, but he has gone back to the Orisa. He has decided Wrecking Ball was not for him. So a bit more of a standard composition off the Warriors. This is what I kind of expected from them. Sydney Drop Bears still playing that Mei, just in case.
All coming up just in time. Huss having some difficulty finding an angle, but the further Warriors push in, the more sightlines that are going to be opened up. Niang certainly is on the ball.
That's a very early lamp there for the Fluoro. I don't know if that's going to achieve a whole lot. It's in a position where they're not going to be used to take damage there, so that could be a cooldown to go on for the side of the Warriors.
Sydney Drop has been forced all the way back to their point, and look at what it's done now for Hustler's sightlines. He's aware that someone might be pushing him from above. Shoyo would have been called.
Tell you what, Roro got a bit too big for his britches there. He went diving over the top of that little hut and ended up going down very quickly, denying any storm arrows.
Which is not what you want to see at all as Warriors, though it's not going to cost them positioning, which is the main thing here for sure, 30 seconds, okay, you can deal with that. But it's retaking this positioning that would have been much more of an issue.
Once Fluoro gets this ult up, Niang is going to do a lot of damage with that Storm Arrow, and he'll shred that shield that Modern puts up, so watch out for that. As Roro takes out Winter very early.
Yeah, Shoyo's going to try and deal with Huss, but
that's
that's not how you want to do it at all. He runs straight into him, gets demeched, and then a headshot to follow up. Again, that's really going to free Huss up, and while he hasn't popped off just yet on that sniper, you can see the pressure that he's exerting. Ooh. And when he is given the opportunities, he's hitting them quite nicely. There's another one. And it almost looks like he's just tracking a Kraken behind the shield there, but in the end it's Tongue that will finish off both with a Bionade.
Giving Huss so much space is so deadly, but they just didn't have the heroes to deal with it. Shoyo, you saw him trying to get in Huss's face and block off these angles, and eventually he goes down to a headshot and it's taken out of the mech and then out of the game immediately. Huss doesn't miss those. If he's on fire, we're in for a good series, because is probably the premier Widowmaker player at the moment is Winter. He's on the flank.
Very sneaky James Bond style, creeping on around.
He sees the Matrix is used. Is he going to throw it in?
He is indeed. This will catch Tongue, that's for sure, and a Kraken will finish it off. Modern should probably go down here as well, as he is cut off by the wall, and Shoyu will dive on in. Excellent work from Winter, very sneakily placed. But he manages to get that Blizzard down, and that'll be a teamfight win for his team. And not only that, but an economic teamfight win, which is really important.
Certainly, that Baptiste ultimate doesn't cost a lot of ultimate charge. He charges it up so fast, especially with the Zenyatta. He doesn't do a lot of healing, that Zenyatta, and any damage taken is probably going to be given to the Baptiste. So, Kraken getting the pick on jungle. He was halted up into the air, I believe.
Yeah, that's pretty vintage though from a Kraken. You would have, a couple of seasons ago, every now and then, seen a fight start off 5v6 in favour of Sydney Drop Bears, and he's been able to do it again here. Not that there's a fight for Warriors, more so just an attempt to push. But that's the danger against a composition like this for Warriors, is going up against what Sydney Drop Bears are running here is like, even to get into a position to start a fight, you're going to be taking a lot of poke damage. And there's any chance that a Hanzo arrow is going to hit you in the head, or a 5-ball.
And we've seen them move over from the Widow to the McCree, which is a bit more spam damage, a bit more damage on that shield. Not a whole lot, but it is enough. And we've seen Jungle move over to the Baptiste as well, which means when his ultimate is up, there's going to be so much damage coming up from that McCree.
Already about a minute wasted there for Warriors heading into point B. That's a good Dragon Strike into Hulk, but the lamp is even better. That was excellent from Fluoro.
That positioning behind the shield as well to protect the lamp, that's key. Some Baptiste players don't get that quite right, and it ends up costing them a lot.
So that's struck through from Shoyu, perhaps a little preemptive, but it does buy some space, allows Sydney Drop Bears to just reset themselves nicely. And Winter has also built himself a Blizzard here. So before the rest of this fight does play out, we are going to see that thrown in on the point, which is something that Warriors will need to deal with.
The Drop Bears are wasting a few ultimates here, just trying to get this space off the side of the Warriors. They're trying to deter them. And an early Transcendence comes up. This is another wasted ult. This is 5 ults wasted.
Winter got scared.
Yeah, he got very scared, obviously.
It was 80 HP, and decided that he would rather pop the Transcendence rather than die with it up. Now we are going to see the self-destruct through. That's going to do some damage. Fluoro taken down, and now Huss is open wide for that Deadeye, but doesn't actually manage to connect onto anything. Regardless, though, we're seeing the players fall for Sydney Drop Bears and Warriors. They just bought enough time. They're going to be able to salvage a fight. It was a long one, Smash. It was a long one, but they have gotten done what they needed to, and now it's a case of cleaning everything up.
But have they got enough done? Dreamer managed to delay for a very long time here, and Winter's come back on the Tracer, dying on the Doomfist.
Yeah, but not for too long. It does manage to demech Noz, which is a little bit of an assistance for Sydney Drop Bears. Dreamer do hold on.
Yeah, managing to get Dreamer into a position where he was safe meant that he could get 3 kills in that fight, and if you get kills on the attackers on this point, it's very hard for them to clean up. See the Doomfist go in, and Kraken's looking juicy.
Yeah, he certainly is. Down very low, needs some backup, but just not getting it. There's no one there to help him out, so Kraken down, Fluoro down, no heals available at the moment for Sydney Drop Bears, and it's going to be on to these remaining players to step up and do something large. Fluoro's swapped off onto Lucio to try and get back to the point in time. Dreamer, an easy kill for Huss. And a minute 23 on the clock is what's going to be there for Warriors should we head to time bank. Not the best of pushes onto point B, but certainly not the worst.
They would have wanted more than a minute 23 after that first point. It was pretty surgical the way they cut up the map and forced them all back into that home, and House managed to get the picks. So I think that Warriors will be kind of disappointed. They would have expected a little bit faster, a little bit more on the time bank, but the way the meta's playing out at the moment, you see the Mei, you see the Orisa, it can be quite difficult to uproot those players off the point. It means that it can be quite hard to cap that second point in general. So Warriors will be content with their finish. I don't think they'll be thrilled with it, but I don't think they'll be upset by it either.
I'd say it's a bit of a pass score, really.
Yeah, I definitely think it would be pass score, but it's what they're going to play on the defense here. Are they going to play the double sniper with the Baptiste, with the Ana, or are they going to try something a bit different with the Mei Reaper that we saw previously? I think that the double sniper is their best bet, but that leaves them very little option to deal with something like Dreamer on the Wrecking Ball and knowing. Yeah, there we go. So there we go. We see one sniper out from the Warriors. Roro picking Doomfist. Oh, he goes over to the Mei. Okay, that kind of gives him a bit more insurance against the Dreamer. Wrecking Ball means he can follow him around, freeze him up, and give him a hard time. But Noz on the Road Dogg is going to have to be sharp on these hooks to stop Niang and Dreamer from causing a ruckus in their backline.
Certainly, although we have seen a few Sombras getting hooked straight out of their invisibility when they're looking for an EMP. So it might not be the first time.
Certainly wouldn't. And Noz is quite a star player on this Warriors roster. I mentioned it a few times in casts because he is just such an improved player and he's causing a lot of waves. He plays a lot of ranked matchmaking, gets very high rated, and people notice that.
Noz champ.
Noz champ in the chat. Winter's actually gone over to the Reaper. So this is interesting. Versus the Roadhog, it is quite good. Huss getting pressured out very early. He goes down, in fact.
Well, that's a good pick early on in the piece for Sydney Drop Bears, and a major, major mistake for Warriors. I don't know that they're going to be able to hold on to point A here at all, but they are certainly trying to do their best to buy some time. That could be a mistake from Winter, though he's not punished for it. Out in the open. Headshots going across. Roro does manage to catch Fluoro, so the numbers advantage still persists for Sydney Drop Bears. But they're not over-committing to this just yet. They're playing it slow, which is fine. You don't drop Dreamer. Now their main tank down, and that causes some problems. Warriors will take the opportunity to recontest, and that's going to work out perfectly for them. You couldn't have really asked for a better start for Sydney Drop Bears, and yet they let it slip.
Huss getting run at there by the Lucio composition of the Sydney Drop Bears. Probably caught off guard by that. You don't expect Lucio on maps that aren't controlled at the moment, so having that pace and managing to lock him down before he could grapple away and rotate to his supports. Mistake from Huss, but it does go unpunished. As he swaps over to the Sombra now, this is a better hero to play into the enemy team. Especially can cause a lot of trouble for that Lucio player.
How many mistakes are going to go unpunished for Warriors, or how many more are going to be made? That is the question. Sydney Drop Bears, I don't think that's one that you're going to be happy to drop, but 2.5 minutes may still be able to make amends for it. Winter up on the high ground, looking for some damage. Was there a blizzard through there? There certainly was. It's Roro's. Forces everyone away from Sydney Drop Bears, and Winter has to push into his opposing teammates, which is not where he wants to be. Time for Dreamer to jump off the edge.
It was a very poor blizzard from Roro. He didn't catch the units that he wanted to. He didn't manage to catch those support players or even Winter after using the TP. So he only gets the modern Orisa. Oh, sorry, not the modern Orisa, the Dreamer Orisa, and he just presses Fortify and walks away. This EMP is going to be the key. This is the go time for this side of the Sydney Drop Bears. This EMP Diva Bomb. There's not a lot of room to hide around here, especially if you're on the point.
Oh no, he's looking for it. He's been really good with the EMPs in the last couple of weeks.
Huss goes first, though.
Even better, that's 5 from Huss, and Sydney Drop Bears are just going to be absolutely smashed away by Warriors. No response available to them at all. Hacked up.
And that's one way to counter. One way to counter EMP is to use your first. If they can't use their abilities, then they can't use their EMP, or they won't get any value out of it if they do.
And they really leave the door open now for Niang. What
certainly do. Noz really has to avoid this EMP. He can turn the fight if he manages to catch a nice hook, or maybe even hook the Diva Bomb away from the EMP.
I mean, even Hog might be pretty impactful if he can get that out onto Sydney Drop Bears that are trying to pile on top of his team.
Tongue's trying to avoid it too, to throw down that protecting build, the little lamp.
Niang looking for the manual hack onto Baptiste into the EMP, but just not being able to make it work. Panic's letting him down a little. Now Dreamer won't have an easy way out.
This is a lot of time off the clock, and Huss is going to build this EMP. If they make one more mistake, they're going to be down to their last fight. That's dangerous.
They already are pretty much down to their last fight.
Oh, they certainly will be after this. Roro does have that Blizzard, so he fluffed one earlier. Will he make up for it this time? Using that Blizzard before you get EMP'd can be quite powerful too. It means they can't all stack on top of you and do that damage. Modern has used the Fortify here, so there could be a window to go if the Sydney Droppers have seen that. They're positioned very well at the moment though. You're either catching the tanks or you're catching the supports. You're not catching both.
The question that we will wait to see Niang answer. Who is he actually going to opt for? Looks to be the manual hack onto Modern. Is there going to be any follow-up off the back of that? No, is the answer, as Winter drops early in the fight. The Sydney Droppers, they're not using anything. They've got a fight in front of them, and yet they're starting it way too late. Can they turn this one around? Niang does catch Modern, but it's a trade for Shoyo. The bongos go down on both sides. Warriors, with that overtime ticking, are looking good here to hold on to Volskaya, and that EMP from Huss will certainly seal the deal. It's a disappointing attack from Sydney Droppers. They got themselves into all sorts. I mean, what on earth was going on there?
Well, I think Niang might have a degree in nursing, mate, because he was nursing that EMP for a very long time. He was looking for the right opportunity, but as I said, he had to either decide to catch the tanks or to catch the supports. If you catch the supports, your team really can't follow up.
Or neither, in the end.
Well, that's it. He just ended up waiting too long. Huss built that second EMP, got it off, meant his team is useless, essentially, so there's no follow-up when he does use it.
I mean, it wasn't even just Huss, though. Like, Winter goes down before any of the Sydney Drop Bears ults are being used. Like, if you're in that situation as Sydney Drop Bears and you're trying to push onto that point, I would have the expectation that maybe you'd be dropping your payload before your opposition is able to do that. And then Winter gets picked, and you're like, oh, well, the fight's probably over here, but we have to commit to it anyway. And 5v6, even though our ults are going down, we're not able to turn it around. It just they sort of seem to back themselves into a corner. And then, obviously, there was that attempt to fight their way out, that flurry of ultimate usage and just trying to do anything, but
there's no coordination.
Let too much slip. Yeah.
So unfortunate that indecision from Niang really cost him the team there, but he has been so patient and paid off more times than not, so I don't blame him for being patient, but I think that there's got to come a time where you've got to make that decision and pull the trigger. Unfortunately, it didn't come, and Sydney Droppers now, they've evened up the score. They've let slip this advantage that they did have, and that means that we're going to see a lot of maps today.
Yeah, well, that's the first map, actually, that Warriors have been able to get over Sydney Droppers this season. Currently, it's sitting at 4-1, favouring Sydney Droppers, if we include their 3-0 result last week. But I suppose last week's result doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things for Warriors if they win here today. Sure, they'll lose a lot of money because they would have dropped from first place all the way down to 4th in the regular season. And that's nothing to get too happy about, I suppose. But the main prize here is making it to the grand finals, let's be honest. Money is one thing, but being able to have a shot at playing off for the money in finals is definitely another, especially at Melbourne Esports Open, which is really the home of Overwatch Contenders grand finals here in Australia. And for Warriors, they're on the right track today. I mean, Ilios, a little bit worrisome, but Volskaya, that was a big win.
Certainly was, but was it Warriors playing well, or was it Sydney Drop Bears making mistakes, a bit indecision? Winter trying for those risky TPs a few too many times. Doing it against the Roadhog isn't advised. You can get away with it when you verse the Diva because there isn't that burst damage to just blow you up, but you managed to get Roadhog hooked out of that TP animation and you're going down pretty quick.
Well, I think we did mention a few of the mistakes that we saw from Warriors there as well, so it's not like they are on a clean slate at the moment. Neither team is, as they both dropped a map. It's one apiece right now as we head into the halftime break. We'll be back with the rest of this best of 5 after this.